like we've got 10 minutes.
Oh, that's why I was trying to usher him out with the other name.
Let me know when you're ready. Okay. Going to call the September Board of Directors meeting to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll have a moment of silence for all of those who have been associated with Anderson Preparatory Academy and those who are still currently with us going through difficult times. Just a moment of silence and prayer. Okay, we'll get the meeting started. I guess they didn't get the message in the gym. They were not being very quiet.
Yeah, your voice carries.
Okay, we do have Ryan on the phone in case you're interested. Just to acknowledge that he is here. Any questions from the audience? You have your 2 minutes. Nobody put in for 2 minutes of time? Okay. All right. So, need a motion to approve the agenda, but I believe there may be an addition, a request for an addition.
So, the elementary would like to have the ability to possibly do raffles as part of fundraising for different events that they are looking at. And so we would like to add that to the agenda to apply for a game license.
Move that we set the agenda with the amendment.
I second that.
Moving under new business. So I have a motion and a second to add the approval of the gaming license to the agenda under new business. All four with the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So it is added to the agenda. Any further discussion? Okay. Need a motion to approve the agenda with the change.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. We got both of those. We have a motion and a second to approve the September 28th board meeting agenda. All four with a sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. I guess I jumped the gun on public comments. Okay, I need a motion to approve the minutes from the August 31st board meeting.
Okay, I will make a motion that we approve the minutes for the August 31st board meeting as submitted to us.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the August 31st minutes. Any discussion? All four with a sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we also did not have the June 29th board minutes at our last meeting. They were not completed, or final, I should say. So I need a motion.
Let's see. One thing that just caught my attention on the board minutes from the June 29th meeting. Under old business, we do not have anything about the financial presentation or approval of the financial reports. Therefore, everything else looked okay as I recollected and checked it over. At this point, for them to be correct, I would have to write up some kind of summary on that, but I don't know who voted for what on approving those financial statements.
We would have, she has her notes, but we also have the recording, so if we would like to possibly table this and revise.
I think really to have a complete minutes, we will have to table it. And I'll take I tried to do it this afternoon, but I ran short on time. I'll just take the financial, that review I sent out, and try to kind of hack that down to just a sort of a brief summary. And I can send that to you then. If you know who voted to approve it.
Oh, we can review the video.
Or yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that video review. Thank you, Brian.
I believe Kim's first name is spelled incorrectly. Is it K-Y-M or K-I?
So we will table the approval of the June minutes for our October board meeting. Okay, everybody has a copy of the CEO report. A motion to approve the CEO report.
I'll move that we approve the September CEO report.
Second.
They have a motion and a second to approve the CEO report. Any discussion? All four with the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Spared you today. All right, old business. I guess we have already done old business with the minutes, the approval of August and tabling of June. I'm not sure why we're under there.
Excuse me, where are they having junior high volleyball?
Next hallway, turn right.
Next hallway turn right?
Yes.
Like a gate, there's a gate.
Follow the crowd noise. It'll be growing as you get closer.
Excuse me, but your board meeting is not very short. I'm trying to get to a volleyball game. That's funny. So I feel like I'm handicapped here. Am I reading? We've got approval of minutes, and then we've got old business approval of minutes, so.
So for the old business, the approval of minutes was the June 2021, so sorry, we did jump.
Okay,
Because
so-
they were mentioned at the last board meeting.
Okay, so there's just a little oddity.
There's always a little odyssey with us.
We're rolling right along here, folks, and had we started on time and I not looked at the clock that was a little bit off, or maybe it's just my eyesight that's a little bit off.
Well, our banker's got to us late too, so.
And our banker did keep us, that's right.
Yes.
Okay, so that leads us to the August financial review, David. There was information that was mailed or emailed.
Yes, we received the financials, I think, Monday morning, and I put something together and I sent it out, email, I think just a little before 8 o'clock Monday. I'm not even going to hand it out because the good news is that bookkeeping, and I will say bookkeeping plus, you guys last week were at the crescendo of the audit.
Yes.
And these auditors are being very thorough, so we understand completely, and we're just now looking at the new numbers. And believe me, they're a lot better than what I sent you yesterday, so I'm not gonna pass out hard copies and just delete those if you want. Let's see, now I will just quickly make a brief assessment here of the new numbers. This is the first time I've looked at it. The first thing that I look for is our projected year end. And this looks very good because last month we were projecting our cash net income to be $55,192. And the May approved budget, we were shooting for 51,000. And the newest number here is 113,622, which if you look historically at our numbers, that is a very respectable addition to our cash on hand. And then our cash, ending cash balance then, if we can achieve that, would be $1,787,350,000. A record of balance, cash balance for APA. So I certainly like the looks of this. Now looking then at just the month of August, okay, August month then, actually the comments that I made on my financial review concerning just the month of August pretty much are accurate. It's just the discussion of the year end that is invalid here. But looking at the month of August here, we have projected a net cash loss of $148,820, which is not unusual during the early months, and sometimes during the later months, we typically would have some kind of cash loss there more often than not. Now, as it turned out, we had actually a net cash loss of $670,215, and that was attributable to two big projects. We were chatting about that earlier. I think one of them was actually misclassified under the category of janitorial building supplies, etc. And that was related to the air filtration system project, which we know is fully reimbursable. And then the second big item, and again, the numbers, if you can still use what I sent out July, looking at the actual and versus our budget. The other big category that was way out of whack was our technology expense. And that was attributable to a large number of student tablets that were purchased, and I believe that is also a fully reimbursable expense or not?
It is not a fully reimbursable expense, but $212,000, we just received notification on Friday for the FCC. We applied for an emergency connectivity grant, and we received notification that we will get the $212,000 back in the project. And so, but at the end of the day, basically, we were able to get all the computers that we needed, update our staff computers, and pay what we normally would for that yearly update. So
Very good.
with that, we purchased 470 student computers and 60 staff computers.
61?
Staff computers.
Oh, okay, 470 students and 60 for the staff. And there were two different kinds, as I recall. Also, for the benefit of our newer members, the comments here, the notes, now you probably, I need an electron microscope to read them actually, but most of you probably can just squint real closely here. But those comments, they're short and cryptic, but there is a lot of very good information in there. In fact, I'm thinking that if one was wanting to track the purchases that we're making from the government programs under ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, I think you could almost come up with a complete list just from those comments. So I would encourage all of us to utilize those as we're trying to understand here where the numbers are coming from. That is, I think, the only thing that I recall in, I looked over the initial draft. If we're out of whack with our planned budget, it's not a revenue problem because we're ahead of the game. But we're ahead of what we had projected back in May. It's just the large project expenses, as we discovered last month. Some of them are starting a little later than we had anticipated. So you're going to have those large variances because they're just going to get finished. And another question I had is the large heating and air conditioning, the training project, is that going to be built on a progress basis? Okay.
Yes, it will not be a lump sum, and so we're gonna do progress billing with them as we go.
Okay, well, that would certainly help your end projections.
Yeah, we discussed with them if we needed to do a line of credit or if we could just make payments as we go. And so it's just payments as we go as different progress happens. They understand
it's
it's
very helpful in that area. They said, we're willing to work with you with something that caught our eye.
Yeah, and both bidders were able to do something of that nature. It just, and part of the problem that a lot of small schools are facing right now is that they do not have the cash to be able to do even that because that's a lot of money. And so it's created some challenges. So thankfully, a lot of vendors right now are willing to work with people because they know the money's guaranteed.
Great. But certainly, without the COVID situation is ongoing, it's terrible, a real hardship on everybody involved, parents given everybody. But some good has come out of it because the projects that we have been doing last year, this year, there's no way we could have done that without that timely government assistance. Plus, you guys followed all of the rules, so we work with the government and have good.
We trust in what happens on education.
Mike, you asked, I think last month, a question on certified salaries. The only thing I did notice, I think on the August, it did seem like that all of our certified teachers' salaries, K through 12, was a little higher than what we had budgeted. Special ed was lower. That was the only thing I think that caught my eye that wasn't related to the timing issues of when we spend and when we get reimbursed. I guess it wasn't a large amount, but what was going on there?
With some of the adjustments, and you'll see it comes out in the wash, basically. But we've had some people change categories from where they originally were budgeted. We had one administrator that has moved back into the classroom to help fill a vacancy we have, and in order to facilitate that, we've had to hire an instructional aide that is a non-special ed instructional aide instead of hiring a special ed instructional aide. And so we've just had some operational differences where we thought we were going to be a certain way, but COVID, so we're just going with it.
We're still projected to be $45,000 more with that line item 71.
There'll be some,
Than what we budgeted. Right.
there'll be some removals of
But
positions.
that's through today. That could change.
Yeah. So
And
if there's
for the
any
month.
huge variances, it's probably related to our capital improvement projects. It does not appear that we're off track on people costs, let's say. So,
Not quite yet.
For the month, it looks like we're about $8,000 above the budget. That's a small number. It's startup of the school year.
Yeah, and one of the variances that you will see is that professional services by the end of the year will be down by about 12,000 or so, and that will be reflected in salaries because an employee is now doing those services. So, just a few little change in the bench.
So if I may, jump in here, the revenue is inflated, essentially $230,000 close to, we're talking about line item 42, above budget. That comes from the estimate of 2 and 3. It's just the way the money is coming in on that. So again, that gave us a shot in the arm for this month. We'll come back down the road. If you look at line items 79 and 80, as expense items, they're up significantly. Again, startup in school, and basically, if you look at the line items going out from there, 80, 79, 80, they have been spread evenly throughout the year. They have to catch up as we go forward. I do have one question about the line item 92. Professional development looks like it's way above. Do we have a grant that we got? I thought.
Yes, and that professional development, that is part of the ESSER 3, so we pay for our teachers to go through that.
So that just really stands out. I'm wondering if that should be reclassed.
We may need to look at possibly increasing that line to accommodate, but it's all reimbursable.
And then the employee insurance, it just looks like an odd number, line item 114.
So procedurally with employee insurance, we had previously done, you pay for the month ahead, the month prior, and for accounting purposes, especially as we have people moving positions or departing, then we were having to go back and do reimbursements, and it was messing up the billing. So now we just pay for the month that we're in. Current month.
So this is a one-time, one month.
Yeah, it'll work itself out.
I didn't have much time to look at this.
You did a great job. You're catching it.
We really like the changes you made though.
Real.
Glad we found that today so we can make those changes.
Yes.
So line item 161, is that an aberration one time, custodian salary?
So that one, we have seen a little bit of an increase because we currently have employees that are on leave within that category, but it's still paid leave, but we had to have people pick up extra shifts and extra hours to
So
cover
you're
it.
paying overtime?
Yeah, and unfortunately, that situation, we do not know when that will be resolved, but we won't be having to pay the overtime and those things because once that person's PTO has run out, which I believe it actually has, you will see an increased expense in the janitorial services and professional services. As we've added norms, a couple extra days to help carry that load. But that is all reimbursable through ESSER. So we can just increase the grant amount that we are expecting to receive this year to cover it.
Then line item 170, the grounds repairs, is that because of the track?
Yeah, that's the track, and that actual expense there, that is specifically the track, but we've also had some invoices from Carlos and Sons where we repaired the elementary parking lot. So that actually, if you're looking at the expenditures for July, that would be part of that part, but right now it comes out even at the end of the year.
Need two more. Line item 177, professional services.
This is one that was actually supposed to be in the building improvements that we changed today.
Okay.
So it's been adjusted against line 159.
That essentially is what's electric for installing the outlets for the purifiers.
Was that something that confused you between a filter and a purifier, something, anything else? Was that misunderstood?
It is confusing, and we, just to make things super easy on Andrea, we bought the purifiers, but we also bought a couple years worth of filters, all in one purchase and one invoice, because, you know, when you've got the money, we've got stockpile. If you need an air filter for the next 5 years, we're good. So that's where that.
Even with that adjustment, I'm sorry, even with that adjustment, that line item is still gonna be under by $50,000. So is there another line item
I
that's?
left the negative there and then just changed the adjustment on 159 so that they counteract each other.
But there's still 50,000 difference, right? My math wrong.
If you look at line 159 right now,
Yep.
it's projecting to be 364 under budget.
Line 159,
Yeah, go to the end.
out to the end.
Yeah, so we originally had projected that we're gonna be 1.6 million there, now we're projecting like 1.3. And then the professional services are down where they belong.
I was just looking at the numbers.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
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 So, no, you're correct.
Yeah. So,
That would be why.
We're on the same page.
It happened.
okay. That was my madness. And then, again, line item 187 was up dramatically. Startup money, startup for school.
Yeah, that's that big computer purchase.
Yeah, that's, if you look at it at the end of the year, it's up slightly, but something we can live with. Anybody else want to jump in here? Did I steal everybody's thunder?
See, Andrea, I'm thinking that almost everything that will be purchased and reimbursed through the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, those will be assets that will be depreciated. Is that true?
Not completely. So there's,
No building, anything under building improvements should be a
so,
depreciable asset.
so the threshold for state board of accounts is 5,000 per item.
Oh, okay.
So, anything like the think books and things like that do not count.
Do not,
towards
okay.
Yeah.
And the air purifiers individually are not $5,000.
Okay.
And I ran into this a lot, Dave, while I was doing the application process, because a lot of the items as a collective were going to add up to that threshold, and they said, nope, this is not a fixed asset, so you hit that. So very rarely, really looking at fixed assets that we may purchase this year would be the servers, because those are about $10,000 a piece. But as far as increasing anything like that, we don't.
Okay, so, because I was thinking that we could have a whopping depreciation expense, which, while it doesn't affect what we're doing here on the cash basis, would certainly have some influence on the accrual bottom line. But it may not be as big as I was thinking it might be.
Yeah, a lot of our ESSER expenses are really gonna be on people and curriculum programming and those type of, besides the HVAC individual pieces.
Oh, one other quick question here. I know in years past, we had a column somewhere that showed what we were carrying forward from our title program. Let's see, and you mentioned in your CO report that you are applying right now for the title 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, and we have to spend 85% of those title monies at least. Do we have much carried forward, or the fact that you're reapplying for that, is that going to change any of our projected numbers here?
It could change some of them, not in a reduction, but in increase
Oh,
in the
good,
carryover.
okay.
Because it has been, with COVID, it made it a little more challenging to spend some of the entitlements because we couldn't have as much of the programming, especially the after-school piece. And so some of that will carry over into this year, and we will use it part of our instructional, also part of our new middle school classes that you guys will learn a little bit about next month, to be able to help fund some of these interventions and things. And then right now, the entitlement programs are kind of in a holding pattern. We actually, and this has never happened, at least in my career, I don't have access to our Title II allocation yet, and I do not have access to our Title IV allocation. And usually I have those and have applied for those in June. June 30th is usually that hard deadline, and they just keep sending an email saying, we've extended now title programs to October 31st. So it has made it challenging. I think part of that is because of ESSER, because that department, the Federal Grants Department, had to absorb the ESSER responsibilities. And they're still trying to figure out what's allowable and what's not, and how do you do this. And even with our ESSER 3 application, it is not finalized. They said that you had to apply for at least the 20% set aside that was supposed to go to learning loss. But as far as all the other pieces, just hang on and we'll get to it.
So we have received ESSER 3 months.
We have.
The two programs are concurrent.
Yes, we are receiving reimbursements for the parts of our application that have been approved, but we have not been able to apply for the other parts. So I still think I've got about $1.3 million left to apply for right now, which will
I'm glad you're dealing with that, Mike, rather than you and I.
You only have 8 more months of me harassing you, so.
It's sad, but yes. So.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve Dave's report.
I make a motion to approve our financial report.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All four with the sign of aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I love it. I love getting that follow-up via phone. Okay, we'll move on to new business. And Captain Fraley, thank you very much. You are dismissed. Did we get you out of here quick enough? We got you out of here at 5 o'clock. Thanks, Andrea.
Good evening. As always, thank you for taking interest in what's going on at the elementary. And I know that sometimes I can get a little long-winded in giving my updates, so I promise I'll be I will be fairly brief tonight, I think. So obviously, if you have questions, I would love to help answer those, but I will be very brief in what I talk about here tonight. So first of all, enrollment at the elementary is looking, I feel like, pretty good. We have about, as of, well, today, 305 in-person and 31 ABA online cadets with us, so happy about that. Fundraising and cadet engagement. You all know that we have not been able to hold very many events for our cadets, especially our younger ones. And there are many of our younger ones who, if they started with us in kindergarten, are now second graders who have not had any of those traditional school experiences, carnivals, going on field trips, things like that. So we are going to have a Fall Fest next Thursday, October 7th. It will act as an engagement opportunity. The games will be free, activities will be free. However, a little bit of fundraising thrown in there with some of the food and those items that we're going to work to sell at that Fun Fest. So excited about that. We also have the Cincy fundraiser that we've been doing for a couple years, and that always seems to prove beneficial to us. About $1,000, usually $1,500 that the elementary ends up making off of that. So excited about a few of those fundraising and then engagement opportunities. As far as campus updates, I know the Commandant has been keeping you abreast on some of those items that have happened already and did happen over the summer. However, some pieces that were maybe done last minute before school started or right when school was starting. We did get new flooring in the art room. We're excited about that. And then eventually that flooring, how it looks in the art room, will eventually be throughout the whole school. And hopefully that project will be done over fall break is what we're hoping. We also, if you've seen the window decals that are upstairs on Meridian side of the school at 29th at the corner there. We've added those type of decals in the elementary, and that's been really nice because it's a little bit of a safety piece as well. We know that people can't be necessarily looking in, not that they're doing that often, but just another safety piece to make our cadets and staff feel safe, obviously, but also just the aesthetics of the building have been increased quite a bit, and I know people have noticed that, so that's been nice. So thank you to Commandant for allowing us to do that. The next piece on the modular, it's a word that Commandant and I don't really like to talk about right now because it's, with all the delays that we've experienced, we thought the modular would be ready to go. Well, we're super close. We're working on the sewage hookup this week. So plumbing is close to being finished. The electrical pieces are done, and so we're getting very close to finally being able to move into that. So I'm excited about that. The next piece there on cadet behavior, just letting you know how our cadets are, how they're adapting to our discipline procedures that we've adopted at the elementary, and to be honest, it's a K-12 initiative as well. But the restorative practice model, and I'm not going to go through the charts with you, but I did want to include kind of what our discipline expectations look like, and then examples of what restorative practice is versus what restorative practice is not, because that is the model that we are working toward when dealing with student behavior. So for the past few years, I think, I've consistently been talking about we do feel like this is paying off with the outcome of kids who are better regulated, who are able to engage for longer amounts of time without having certain behavior outbursts or outcomes. And so so far this year, have had 2 cadets who have had in-school suspension, which is passed for 1 day at a time. 3 cadets that have received 1 day out of school suspension. But then on the opposite of that, we implemented a positive referral system, and we've had 15 cadets receive that positive referral. So we do continue to feel like what we're doing is proving to work, at least for now. So excited about that. Counseling and SEL. In the mornings, we have started something called Mindful Mornings, and that is a time where our neuroscience instructor, Betty Van Alstein, she is helping lead some of that piece of the morning where cadets are watching interactive mindful videos where they practice different breathing exercises, just calming music in the background, and really the focus is to get them calm, but also ready to be focused and engaged in learning for the day. Now, we just started that probably 2 weeks ago or so, so not sure exactly what that payoff looks like yet, but we are encouraged about how we got started, and it seems to be going well. I mentioned the neuroscience class. That I feel like is something pretty unique to us for APA, and that seems to be going really well. I think once Mrs. Van Alstein has her place in the modular, that'll probably help with that a little bit more, but I do know that the cadets are learning on lots of things that I don't know what they're talking about sometimes when it comes to neuroscience, using some different language and verbiage. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to sit on these classes and pay attention. So been very pleased with that. Also, we have Michelle LaRoche, who is with us 2.5 days a week this year. That's a new piece for the elementary. We've always had some presence of the counselor, but maybe a half day a week or a day a week, and now we've got Michelle there 2.5 days a week. So that's been super helpful, because there are some pieces that I just don't know how to deal with. Our team doesn't know how to deal with, and obviously having that support there has been really great. The academic piece, obviously not sugarcoating any of it. You all know the learning loss words are all the time, right? But we have implemented some new digital curricula. We provided, I know the Commandant's talked about some of the trainings that we provided our teachers as well, and we do believe that we're moving in the right direction to help try to close that gap. But in reality, what we're looking at right now is that the average student is 1.5 to 2.5 years behind grade level at the moment. And the older they are, 5th grade compared to 1st grade cadets, that gap seems to be quite a bit wider. So obviously that's a challenge that I know that we all will be facing to try to figure out how we can continue to bridge that situation and close that gap. So that's all I really have for me at this time. So you did a good job. Okay. But Michael Stoudemire, he is interning with me this year. You all know Michael. I'll let him tell a little bit about himself as well, but he is with me about every other day, and it works out to be about that, for about 3 hours in the morning, 4 hours depending on what's going on. So that's been great because he's another person to bounce ideas off of, to work together collaboratively, but also he is taking on certain projects that he has to finish for his internship as well. So
yeah, so Michael Stoudemire, I know several of you, born and raised here at APA, graduated in 2015, interned for 4 years during my undergrad, and now I've been in the faculty in the high school math department for the last 3 years now. I'm completing my master's at Marian University in education leadership. So I finished the building level administrator portion. Now I have to have the master's behind my name as well. So the internship is part of that. So I hang out with the elementary. I chose the elementary because I only known the high school and secondary level, so I wanted to expand my horizons. Some projects that I work on quite frequently at the elementary include lots of things with virtual learning, because the elementary went virtual for a couple of weeks. So I was helping their staff engage them with Google Classroom, security mechanisms and stuff like that. I do a lot with teacher walkthroughs and evaluations with Captain Fraley, anything regarding school safety, you name it, it's on the list to complete, including talking to you as a school board. So other than that, I'm really excited. I'm excited to learn from Captain Fraley. I will sit down with budget processes with Commandant when budget season arrives here very soon. But other than that, it's been a great, thrilling, unpredictable experience over the last 7 weeks that I've done this. So, yeah.
It's always nice to have somebody who grew up here to come back and help grow the next generation.
Yes.
And I think you've been to most of our recent board meetings, haven't you?
I've missed a few this year, but I typically try to come.
do you have any questions? Yes.
So you talked about the cadet behavior people put on the report. I think, was it last year, and maybe if I'm wrong, tell me. I think one of the things that happened last year is it was just virtually non-existent. Any of the disciplinary issues, is it because we're paying a different attention to it this year, or is it?
I think a lot of it is we're in our 4th year of trying to look at behavior differently.
Okay.
And then, you know, we had a lot of students who were not in school because they were chose the APA online route. And I believe a lot of those students have just been very thankful to be back in person. So I think that that's part of it. I think that, you know, a lot of students have been, there are those who are thriving in the APA online in that model, but most of our students are doing better being in person. And so I think, to be honest, that's helped a little bit of the behavior too, because they want to be at school, they want to engage. And I do think, and I'm hopeful that some of our new digital pieces that we're working on as well, I think they're a little bit more engaging. I think the kids are having more fun with them. And then, you know, the other pieces of sprinkling in the project-based learning, trying to create things for them to be excited about. I do think that's helped the behavior too. But I won't lie, I mean, there are students having outbursts. There are things that aren't going as well as we want them to go, but in general, we do feel like we've got a good process in place.
Now, it wasn't meant to be derogatory by any
Yeah, I
means.
didn't take
I
that
think
at all.
it's amazing how much effort's going into keeping people up to speed and helping them flourish in a time that's extremely difficult. So I commend.
I didn't take it that way at all.
Have you, I know that we put our 5th grade back at the elementary for this year. Have you seen any kind of like improvement? Can we tell, like, is that a good thing, or can we tell at this point? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're only 7 weeks in or whatnot, but I do feel like we're feeling like it was the best option, the best choice. There there are times because, fifth graders start to have a little bit new behavior the older they get. So there are some pieces where I go, we have fifth graders now. But in general, we are feeling like they're engaged. We feel like they're getting the support they need. They're in a hallway, not isolated by any means, but the fifth grade classes are together, which helps. Collaboration with teachers have help in getting those resources that aren't necessarily always available at the middle school level. So far, I would think, I would say that, the pieces of trying to stretch out lunch times a little longer, think about this arrival was really difficult at first because we had so many more students back in the building, and then dismissal was a little bit tricky for a while, but those things have gotten under control. And in general, the staff seems to be very happy that we have those fifth graders there again. So I'm hoping.
And I gotta say, from my outside perspective, right, because I just see the observation there, looking at, if we had introduced them into the secondary part, I don't feel that they were developmentally ready, emotionally or socially, to come over here, because at 29th Street, we have tightened back up some of our military culture, some of our expectations, to help, with perpetuate our mission and vision. And I think, with the fifth graders, last year's fourth graders, they missed out on so much. And so I think this has been really good for some of them to move and some of them to just get through there, because, in January, they'll hit that little switch and they'll be in an elementary setting to have that and be able to deal with those bigger emotions with better SEL support, with neuroscience and those things, and then they'll be ready to come into a secondary setting. So I think it was good timing. I know it's been fun, but I always try to do this when these guys present. Adam and Michael, they have done a tremendous job, really trying to look at root cause, really trying to take care of kiddos, but also trying to take care of adults. This has not been an easy year. I know I included that in my CEO report, but our adults, their social, emotional, we're seeing this across the country. A lot of teachers are exiting in September. A lot of teachers, they're burnt out. They're having those same teacher feelings that we usually have in March and April, right in time for testing or spring break. And so, we've been having some discussions on what can we do to help them through this. I will say I appreciate Mike sending a spam email last week about gift cards. Someone pretended to be Mike. And the teachers were like, what? So, it was not him. But, Adam has done an exceptional job of listening to his teachers, giving them that voice, and then helping model for them how to navigate this. And so, I commend you for what you guys are doing, and Michael, you're learning all this and holding some of it together, so thank you guys.
Amazing. Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for shutting the doors with the volleyball traffic. Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, new business that was added to the agenda is a request to approve a gaming license.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Good night.
Hi. I basically submit a verbal proposal for APA to apply for an annual gaming license to enable us to increase our fundraising opportunities, to include raffles and things of that nature. This will be used at a K-12 level. You'll see it at fall festivals or spring festivals and carnivals and things like that. But that also gives us the opportunity to do some of those type of fundraisers during athletic events or choir events and the gala and those type of things. So this would be beneficial for us. Mike always wants to know what that bottom line is. So it's a $50 investment to apply, and I'm pretty sure we will make that back. So, and hopefully, and then some.
So we need a motion to approve the request.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I have some questions. So with that, is there limitations that only certain people can raffle tickets? You have to be 21 or something, or
They have regulatory guidance on all of it. We would have to purchase supplies from a licensed vendor and all of those things, and because it is gating, there would be those applicable funds. So, lots of fun stuff, but no, we won't be having students doing all their entrepreneur spirit would probably generate more.
Any other questions?
Is it strictly raffle, or are there other things like 50/50 and things like that?
50/50 and
Yeah.
those things would fall under that category.
That was, when I was in football league, that was a huge moneymaker, like huge. So that's good.
No blackjack or roulette or anything like that.
You know, there is some licensure for that, but I felt maybe,
We want to contribute to the declining of morality.
I thought Harrah's might be mad because we'd be getting into their territory, right?
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all for the approval, signed by. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Any further discussion? Need a motion for adjournment?
I'll move that we adjourn.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all for with sign by.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
This is a record short meeting.
It is, we made it under an hour.
Oh, wow.
No, over a minute over, but had we started on time.
late.
Yeah, we would have been
We're
okay.
right, okay.
So.